What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to do a kind of summer update-like thing for you. Go over the first half of the year so far and what to expect from the channel and channels, I'd say maybe plural, in the second half of the year. It's been quite the year and very different than, I guess we kind of saw this coming, right? Like, the games were there, especially early on. Not necessarily the greatest variety, right? I was actually going to say quite a few different games. As it got going, yes, we got, things like Final Fantasy and Helldivers and Like a Dragon and Hellblade and Stellar Blade, a lot of blades, right? Pretty solid first half of the year, and I think we did a pretty good job, or I did a pretty good I always say we, even though it's just me. My wife makes the thumbnails as of maybe like a month ago on Podcast Now Back to the Past. I think she does a terrific job and 1,000 times better than me, so maybe we is a better way of saying it, but no, I think the first half of the year has been pretty darn good. There's nothing really to complain about when it comes to like the channel or the back end stuff. Like, ad revenue continues to be the worst I think it's ever been on YouTube. Can't say the channel is in like the most healthy place compared to a year or 2 years ago, but I'm happy with the content. And I really want to, side with that part of things where it's like, look, the financial thing, you never want to burden viewers with financials. I'm not about to, in this video. We're doing okay. We're living and we're having fun. I'm having fun and I'm covering the things that I continue to want to cover. And, I probably said this for the Christmas update, but like that's really where I want to be and why I've really started to separate and continue to separate the channels, all three of them, to do what they are going to do, right? Times like these, July, June, the last couple months, like May really only had Hellblade when I think about it. April, at the end of April, had Stellar Blade. But, last couple months for a channel like Podcast Now where I've really established it and want to continue as the present, right? This is all about games coming out like currently or about to come out, right? And sometimes it's just going to be slower for a channel like this. So, I can't say like this is the most fun time to be a content creator in the gaming sphere is in July, right? Besides 2020 when we got Ghost of Tsushima, normally July is always dead. And, it's times where, you visit family and I visit family and we do all sorts of different things. But, I itch to get back to like, okay, you turn on the computer, you turn on Twitter and there's like 6 news stories and I got to debate on, what I want to cover. But, I think it opens up for Podcast Now Plus to do different stuff. I reviewed Cobra Kai and, I'm going to be reviewing Deadpool and Wolverine next week. That'll be on Friday on that channel. And then Back to the Past, just chugging along and I think doing incredibly good. There's some weaker weeks and that's all on me, right? Like it's all about the games that I'm picking and the quality of the videos. If they're not up to snuff, they're not getting viewed and that's my problem, right? So I've really enjoyed the highs with Back to the Past. And I've enjoyed the highs, I'd say, with all of these channels. I think Podcast Now Plus is about as steady as she goes of any of my 3 channels. Back to the Past, a video can get 3,000 and then a video can get 100. Podcast Now, a video could get 500, a video can get 10,000, right? Depending on the day, depending on the video. You got to be able to roll with it. And I think it's something that I've always, not always, but for a very long time, I've been pretty darn good with, considering I make so many videos. I'm able to have a video do pathetically bad on me and just honestly brush it off, not even think about it, and just make the next video, just hit record and talk about something else. So almost like motivational speech for myself there, right? But no, first half of the year, I think it was very solid. There were highs for all 3 channels. There were lows for all 3 channels, maybe except for Podcast Now Plus. I'm happy with what we've continued to do. I'm happy with the separation of content, and I think I've done a pretty good job at it. And I continue to do the whole, if I want to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it. And as we've said in a couple of these update videos, probably the last 2, 3, 4 years, it wasn't always like that. There was a couple times in the past where I would almost force myself to talk about a game or force myself to talk about a topic that I just wasn't all that into. And I feel like you could feel like you can tell because it just came across not as genuine. Not anymore, not really over the last, whatever it might have been, 3, 4, 5 years. And now we go into the fall. And in terms of the content itself, I kind of want to just give you guys like an update of what I'm thinking. Honestly, it is steady as she goes, and it's like straightforward. I feel like people would reasonably be able to understand or know ahead of time, what I'm going to be covering. If a game is up my alley, you'll see it be covered. There is a rough, I did the video talking about all the games in the fall I'm interested in. There's 25, 30, 35 games in the fall that I have somewhat interest in. And I haven't really wrapped my head around how I'm going to do it all because I just don't have as much time as I used to. There's a lot of games, and there's also like the pocketbook, not to bring money back in again, but I think this is the case for people that would maybe want to buy several games, right? Sometimes you got to choose, and like there's no reasonable way for me to spend money on 30 video games in the span of 4 months, right? I think that would be irresponsible, and I'm going to try my best to not do it, but I also want to pick the ones that I'm most into, and I think you've probably seen over the last couple months, it's kind of just the closer ones. So like Astrobot, there's been a lot of videos on Star Wars Outlaws, Black Myth, and I think that's a system that has worked well for me and will continue to work well as these games get closer, right? As they get closer, you just start to hear about them more. I cover them more. And then I kind of have to pick my battles of which games I get day one, which games you see like extensive coverage from me on after the game comes out. I think all 30, 35 games I'm interested in, I will cover quite a bit going into them. It's just when they actually, release would be something that kind of changes, I guess, based off the individual game. But I still think it's going to be very structured. Podcast Now will be focusing on those 30 games. It'll be focusing on any news or rumors or leaks, going forward. Podcast Now Plus will kind of be the backup and just, anything that I miss on Podcast Now. And then Back to the Past, I got that thing under lock. I got a whole Halloween month already planned. I got September almost already done, actually. I've been using July and June to get ahead for Back to the Past. So I'm into like mid-September right now in terms of videos and in terms of what games I've already played that I'm going to be doing retrospectives on. So I feel really good about Back to the Past, and I still want to make that like a very big thing, and I think that has the most potential out of any of my channels. I honestly kind of have the most fun making Back to the Past videos. I think when I'm in it, when I'm making a Life is Strange video or when something big happens in the gaming world, I think I'm having a ton of fun on Podcast Now, but Back to the Past is just very, very special to me. So honestly, it is steady as she goes. Like, depending on the game, obviously there's going to be a lot of Life is Strange stuff. Indiana Jones, I might cover more than a Lollipop Chainsaw, or, Black Myth Wukong, I might cover more than, whatever, right? Like things like that are going to happen. But ultimately, I think, if you're interested in games coming out in the fall, my range is pretty big, and I feel like it's going to cross at some points. Another thing, in terms of live streams, I failed at this, but I want to say, like, I'm always thinking about it the right way, and then I don't execute it. I really think what's happened and what I've gotten more than enough evidence on is what works on what channel. Like Podcast Now, the live streams that work are the guests, are the theory kind of live streams, like maybe leading up to a game, doing a live stream the week before, or doing it maybe the week before Gamescom, right, and talking. Like that is really what I think gets people to view the Podcast Now live streams. Playing games, I've got to stop doing on Podcast Now. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked for a long time, and I got to get that through my thick skull. So I think going forward, what I still want to do, every Friday, still do a live stream, and I want to mix it up. If there's a new game and I want to play it, that would maybe be a Podcast Now Plus live stream. I want to try maybe at the end of every month, I've been doing like a bigger video for Back to the Past, and I kind of still want to do that. There might be some changes there, but I do want to kind of live stream once a month on Back to the Past and pick a game that I'm playing. Pick a game that's a video on that channel and do a live stream on it. And I think that could still be really, really fun. I'm also messing with things in my head of potential, and I think this is a good place to put it in, perks. So, with the memberships and Patreon and stuff, I feel like, and I've said this before, just like genuine honesty, I'm not all that talented in terms of like the creative space. What I try to do is if you give me money, I try to make it be worth it in terms of videos, right? Like the best thing I can provide is just like brand new and exclusive videos for those that do it. Another thing I want to try to do almost on the side is, okay, well, you'll get videos, but what about maybe more of a participation kind of thing in Back to the Past videos? I really think Back to the Past videos are a way of maybe attracting more members or giving members that are already here value, right? Like if you don't feel like it's value, well, maybe that would add on and maybe all of a sudden it would make it feel valued, right? So those are kind of things I'm thinking about, and maybe even by the time you see this video, I've started to implement it. I thought about it actually quite a bit last night, where it's like, I want to give members perks for Back to the Past videos. And I don't necessarily know how that'll work or what they would get yet, but I kind of want to do that just as like an extra thing, and maybe it incentivizes more people to join, or maybe it just has the people that are with me stay with it and say, hey, yeah, I'm getting my money's worth, right? So I really try to give you guys the value, whether it's just a normal video or an exclusive video. But I think that's it. It's been July's been slow. July's been a very, very slow month. And, for me, again, it's all about I really want to make the videos that I want to make. And the channel has definitely gone through, like, I'll sometimes look back at videos I was making 3, 4, 5 years, and I actually think they were pretty clever ideas. And some of those ideas, like, I never even do anymore. And I think I'm actually losing out on potential views and subscribers and all that stuff by doing it. But I really feel like I just want to make what I want to make. So if I want to make a video that feels like a theory video I'd make 4 years ago, I'll do it. But if it's like a news day, it's a news day. You know what I mean? I want to feel passionate about the videos that I give you guys. I want to continue to stay honest. I think that continues to be something that's sorely lacking from just the internet, especially, because here we go, right? All of these games, and there's controversial ones like Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars, like Ubisoft games, I guess, but also like, there's console warrior stuff, and a lot of games just have controversy. People either make it up or it'll be actually legitimate. And I just, I want to cover those things, and I want to come across as genuine as I can be. I have real thoughts about these things, and I try to keep it real. And I feel like it's worked so far. I think people that actually give me chances see that you can get mad over a specific thing or whatever, but I don't know, like, can you get that mad when it's like, well, he's just speaking like how he feels, and it's like, is it really that big of a deal? That's kind of how I try to come across, with a lot of these things. And hey, we got 30 or so games. Maybe I review 15 or 20 of them, right? I got to be honest, and those things sometimes get me into trouble, I guess, sometimes don't. And we'll see where the future takes us. But I'm feeling good. The channel, as I talked about, I think in the winter update, the last 14, 15 months, like, it has been a change. And there's stuff, behind the scenes I also don't talk about. There's a lot of stuff. That's happened. But, I feel good about where we're at. I feel good about all 3 channels, again, specifically maybe Back to the Past. But, like, as the growth slowed, yes, but as I always say, like, there is still growth. Podcast now still grows. It still gets unique viewers. It still gets unique subscribers. So I'm feeling good still about the potential of Podcast Now. It clearly, the channel works the most when there's things happening. And, again, June and July, at least, second half of June, because the first half of June was great. Second half of June, all of July, maybe even the beginning of August is going to, it's dead. And it normally is dead. And it's just something that the first couple years I was like shell shocked. It's like, why are all of a sudden gaining, like Pirates of the Caribbean that year? Why am I gaining all these subscribers in February, March, April, all these, right? And then all of a sudden, when you get to like July or August, there's like, it drops off the cliff by like 80%. That caught me off guard when I was, 19, 20, all that stuff, but it doesn't catch me off guard as much anymore. So super happy with the direction of the channel. Feel good about the potential for this channel in the fall. And then, a Back to the Past, I feel like just keeps chugging along, is going to continue to grow, and it does well. And Podcast Now Plus, the little channel that could, I call it. And it's reaching almost 7,000 subscribers right now. So I think that's all I wanted to talk about. If there's any questions or concerns or suggestions, specifically for that membership thing, added perks like connected to Back to the Past, you let me know in the comments, and I'm definitely willing to do it, okay? Always be willing to suggest stuff or constructively criticize me. I'm always up for that. And I think I've proven, like, not everybody sees it because I make so many videos. I think a lot of videos just people don't see. I know people are like genuinely just not interested in some videos, but they are in others. That's totally cool. I completely get that. But I think some, like, people just don't actually see. When people tell me things, like, those opinions will make its way into videos. When I say, like, hey, I've seen people saying this online, I'm taking your opinion and I'm throwing it out there, to talk about it, right? So I really try to do that. I try to address certain things the best of my ability, or do, if it's Back to the Past, do videos on the games that you want to see within reason. But no, if you want to ever see anything or talk or constructively criticize or suggest, always feel free to do it in any video. But this one would be helpful if you did it on this video specifically. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.